Hey there! Welcome to our third screencast in our series on how to use the Lenses tool. Now this screencast is going to introduce you to metadata on the site, how you can use the inspector tool to see metadata in our visualizations, and then how you can take some metadata, things you find in the metadata, and use them to construct lenses that introduce you to more parts of the site. So let's get going. This morning I've taken the liberty of preloading all of the pages that we're going to use today so we can move smoothly through the examples. Let's start with Emily Chapman's module called One Family's Photographs. Now what I want to show you on this page is something that is true for all of the pages in our modules, every page in this Scalar book. You can scroll down to the bottom of any page and you'll find this box here that says additional metadata. I'm going to click on that box now. When you click on additional metadata, another box opens up that shows you all of the metadata that's associated with this particular page. In this case, there's a lot. The reason why there's so much on this particular page is because this is the first page of the module. And the first page of every module contains a list of all of the spatial metadata that's part of that module. So you can see that this is a wide-ranging module as it's tracking the travels and the photographs of the Yajima family in Japan's post-war period. And so here we have our Dublin Core Terms subject field. This names individuals and buildings, other things that have proper nouns, for example, in the module or on the page. This is Yajima Isao and Yajima Eiko. And then also all of these place names. And you can do this for any page. And depending on the content of the page, the kinds of metadata that you find may be different. So let's close this. Another place that you might find metadata particularly useful is when you're looking at images. So let's switch over here to Evan Dawley's module on the sacred geographies of urban colonial Taiwan. And I want to show you, I'm going to scroll down here, I want to show you how you would find metadata for an image. So when you hover over the image, you get these menu options, or sort of the options of what the page is going to show you. And usually it's going to start off with a description or maybe a title and description. But if you click on details, you're going to get access to all of the metadata associated with that particular image. So here's an important distinction. The button on the bottom of the page that says additional metadata is the metadata that's associated with this page. The metadata that you get when you click on details for an image is the metadata associated with that image. Images in Scalar actually exist in their own pages, right? So if we wanted to go to that media page, we could click here for Scalar URL. What I want to point out with media metadata is that it contains information, important information for scholars and students, things like the source, so the Dublin Core Terms source. This is where Evan got this image from. It'll contain information on rights. So if we know that something is in the public domain, it'll say that. If we know it's owned and used by permission only, it'll say that. This is where you're going to get that information. It'll say who put the image up here, and then it'll also explain the medium. And I'm going to give you one more example of media metadata. This is, I've jumped over here to Hiroko Matsuda's module on borders and liminality in the Japanese Empire. And what's really cool about her module is it contains interviews, audio from interviews with residents of Yaeyama in Okinawa who went to Taiwan when they were younger. So I'll play a little bit of the audio here for you. So this is Hiroko speaking with, in this case, Ishigaki Shincho. And Hiroko's provided the translation of these interviews here, right? So we can go down also to this audio file and click on details. And we're also going to get that same metadata. And here we also have the rights and who contributed it, the medium, when it was recorded, for example, where it was recorded, and the source. Okay, so what can we do with metadata? So we can do a lot of things, just including orienting ourselves to the content of any particular page or module, but we can also use metadata to make connections across modules and to push ourselves to explore in ways that we might not have anticipated. So the way I want to show you how to do that is we're first going to learn how to use the inspector tool, which is a tool that comes with the visualizations. So let's look at our tag map. You've accessed the tag map in the very first sort of table of contents of the site, but you can also go up to the menu and mouse down to tag map, and that will take you there as well. Now, what I want you to notice about the tag map is that down here below the visualization, you have a couple of options, information about what the tag map does, a legend that explains what the different colors mean, and then this tool called Inspector. So let's click on Inspector. Now what Inspector does is it basically pulls up that same list of metadata for anything that you've clicked in the visualization. So if I click on our crossing, flows, and immobilities, for example, it's going to pull up the metadata for flows and immobilities. Now, these are just crossing and subtag pages. They don't have the same kind of historical content that the modules do, and as a result, their metadata is relatively limited. But I just wanted to show you how you can use the inspector in the tag map. You can also use the inspector in the complete grid visualization. And this can be really interesting when you're looking at pages, you're kind of exploring. Here's how everything is loaded. But you want to get a sense of the content of the page before you go and look at it, right? So here we'll click on Inspector again. It's in the same place relative to the visualization that it was with the tag map. And we click on it. And then all the way at the top, unfortunately, it's not a floating cell. It's going to pull up. So up here at the top, it pulls up the metadata associated with whatever page we've clicked. So let's go. This is one of my pages, the anti-colonial movement in Taiwan from my module on Saipeihuo. So we'll click on that, and you see that it brings up all of the metadata associated with that page. You can see the description, you can see what time frame it covers, who wrote it, what subjects appear in it, right? And then you can also go to the page itself. It'll open in a new tab. So this is how you use the inspector tool to get a glimpse of pages in the tag map and in the complete grid visualization. Purple here is annotations. Let's see. If you click on a media page, those are green. You're going to get a thumbnail of the image also. That's helpful. And what I want to show you next, and this is the last example, the last bit of exploration that we'll do in this screencast, is I want to show you how to take metadata you find, in this case in a media image, and use that in a lens search to bring up other things that are associated with that metadata that you might not have expected. So the example I want to use is we're going to go back to Evan Dolly's module on Sacred Geographies of Urban Colonial Taiwan. I'm going to draw your attention here to this woodblock print by the artist Kyo Chika. It's called The Three Views of Taiwan. Or this is one of the three views of Taiwan, and it's the reign of Kidun, or the reign of Jilong. I'll click on details to see its metadata. And let's say I'm scrolling down and I'm like, oh yeah, this is a woodblock print. DC Terms Media woodblock print. I wonder if there are any other woodblock prints in this site that I can look at. So let's go, now we'll go over to the lens editor, which I've already pulled up. You can get to the lens editor, of course, by going to the compass menu, mousing down to lenses, and mousing over to manage lenses. That will take you to this page. And what I want to do is I want to construct a lens that searches metadata. So let's add a lens. And let's open this lens in a new window. And we're going to do that by clicking on the title of the lens itself. Here we are. I'm going to title this Lens Metadata Inspector. And we'll keep things simple here. I'm just going to do a list. Now what I want to do, what I'm thinking we'll do is we'll pull up all of the pages, all of the media, I should say, that are woodblock prints. So we're going to do items by type because we want to only look for media. Then we're going to add a filter because we don't really want to see all the media files, right? We just want to see the ones that have woodblock print in their metadata. And so we're going to filter by metadata. Here we'll put woodblock print. You can see I already ran that search. It's important here that you type in the content of the metadata field exactly as you saw it in the metadata itself. So you may want to copy and paste. Otherwise, the search won't return your hits. And then the metadata field was DC terms medium. So DC terms means Dublin core terms, and the property is medium. So I'm going to scroll down to medium. All right, and then we click done and see what we get back. Great. So our lens returns 3 hits, and we'll see that the first 2 hits are actually the same image, which Evan has uploaded twice. So this is part of the general cleanup that we'll be doing as we get closer to launch. But it also is pulling up a woodblock print from a completely different module. In this case, it's Maren Ehler's module on smallpox vaccination in Echizen province in early modern Japan. So you didn't come to Evan's module on sacred geographies of early colonial Taiwan looking for anything about smallpox vaccinations in early modern Japan, but here by looking through the metadata through a lens, we've come in contact with it, we've encountered it, and so let's go ahead and turn on our inspector tool again and click on this page, and here we get the thumbnail. Now, if you've got a little time, I highly encourage you to actually go and see this woodblock print because Maren has annotated almost every single part of it so that no matter what your skill level is with Japanese language of the early modern Japanese woodblock print variety, you can follow along with the story. It's a fascinating image. Okay, so that's our screencast on the inspector and metadata and how to use metadata to construct a lens. Thanks so much for following along. And as always, please let us know how it's going. Send us examples of your lenses at Twitter. We're on Twitter at bodiesinstruct, BODIESANDSTRUCT, or via email at bodiesinstructors@gmail.com. Thanks so much.